Have you ever asked yourself the question, how long will it take for me to be able to see noticeable results from my training? Well, this is why we are here. Welcome back to Fierce Potential, where we're going to address this very specific question. So, generally speaking, most people would say that it takes anywhere from 12 weeks or 3 months to see noticeable results when you're using a very specific program. But this is a very simplistic answer to a complex question because there are four main considerations that we need to take into account to know whether this 12-week period is going to be right for our goal and what we want to achieve. Number one, is the program directly related to your goal? Regardless of what your goal is, whether you are trying to lose weight, build muscle, or gain flexibility, the key is that you need to make sure that your program is specifically tailored to that outcome that you desire. So, if you are training to build muscle, but you have a program that is specializing in flexibility, you might not necessarily see the muscle building adaptations that you want through that specific program. So, it just highlights the importance of tailoring your program to your specific goal. Number two is that we need to consider how big is the gap between the goal that you are aspiring to achieve and where you are starting. Let's just quickly consider a scenario of where there's a person that wants to lose 5 kilograms and a person who wants to lose 60 kilograms. We can all agree that the gap between them is vastly different. The person with 60 kilos has a lot larger gap between the goal and where they want to be. We would expect that person to have a much larger time period to be able to achieve their goal compared to the person who only has 5 kilograms to lose. Here, it is important to recognize that fact and adjust your time period and your expectations according to the gap that you have. So that might just necessarily mean that you adjust your overall goal and split it up into more achievable goals for you to stay motivated on this journey until you get that desired outcome of losing those 60 kilograms. Now, the third consideration is that we need to consider whether your intensity is above your normal level of activity. The amount of effort that you put into your training sessions will not only impact the quality of the results that you get, but also how quickly you are able to achieve your goal. But this is only true to a specific degree. If your goal is to lose weight, but you are walking or exercising at the same intensity that you would if you were in the shops, or if you're walking on the beach, or if you're just busy outside, then we wouldn't expect you to be able to achieve that specific goal that you've set out to lose within a very short time period. But if you exercise at a higher intensity, this will allow you to be able to have a higher stimulus that's above your normal baseline that can allow you to achieve your goal faster. But this needs to be at a level where you are not putting your body at risk of injury. It is important to note here that our body takes time to adapt. And because it takes time for our body to adapt, we need to remember to stay consistent, because through consistency, you are able to achieve these goals, but not just only achieve them, but achieve them in a sustainable way. Number four is that we need to consider, what are we using to measure our results? When we are working out, we want to make sure that we're using the right tools to determine whether the training program that we are training in is effective and resembles the adaptation and improvements that we are achieving. So what I mean by this is that if you're trying to get stronger with a program, we need to make sure that we use the right tool. So instead of comparing your weight on a scale, it might be more appropriate for you to be able to use the starting weight that you start with at the beginning of the program, and then comparing it to the weights that you use by week 8 or week 12, and seeing how much you have improved rather than just relying on a scale. The problem with using a scale within this scenario is that it's a summation of all of your mass. It's the bone mass, the fat mass, the muscle mass, body, organ weights, and also water. So it doesn't have the power to differentiate between muscle mass and lean mass and strength. So what we need to make sure that we use is an appropriate tool to be able to show us that we are improving in strength rather than relying on a scale that just tells us our weight, because weight doesn't necessarily mean that we have gotten stronger. So in summary, the most common time frame that people would expect to see noticeable results would be around 12 weeks or 3 months of consistent engagement in an effective program. But when we are setting a specific or realistic timeline, we need to consider these main four things. Number one, does your program specifically relate to your goal? Number two is, how big is the gap between where you're starting and where your goal is? Number three, is your intensity of your programs above normal levels of activity? Number 4 is we need to consider the tools that we're using relative to our results. So if you found this video helpful, like and share and follow for more, but also leave a comment down below of the biggest challenges that you guys had to face so far on your journey. I will see you guys in the next week.